Oh no, you should.
You're on.
Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Whatever it is. We're here today with Dr. Guy Moore from Israel. We're going to talk a little bit about Krav Maga history and Guy. So, Guy, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Even though it was
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your work, both with Wingate and the Israeli College of Sport?
Yeah. I've been doing martial arts, like I think from around age 8 or 10. I started judo and then did some karate and all kinds of Israeli crazy styles. Did some Krav Maga, self-defense, Thai boxing, etc., pancration. So quite a lot of things in lots of martial arts. At some point, I became the head of martial arts discipline at Wingate Institute, which is the Israel National Sports Institution. I've been working there for almost a decade. And then about 2 years ago, I have resigned, and we opened the Israeli College of Sports, which is an accredited Israeli college for sports and things like that.
Nice. I know you had the opportunity to train and meet and discuss with a lot of people, both at Wingate and the Israeli College of Sport. And I know whenever we went to Wingate to train, you always brought some amazing guest instructors from varied backgrounds. And it's one of the reasons I really liked setting things up with you and training with you, was it wasn't just one person saying, this is the only way, this is it. There were people that actually contradicted each other, but they were both different ways. It was just how to do it. There was no one who was like, it's only this. And that, for me, that's very opening, a lot of freedom, I get to choose what works for me. And I know, with everything else, it gets difficult because every time I went to Israel, I heard a different history story. Every instructor I ever met, Emi was there. They were Emi's top instructor. They were this person. They were the one who was destined to take over. And it wasn't until Idan said, everyone's telling the truth and everyone's lying because how many top students have you had in your time teaching martial arts? And I was like, that really put things in perspective. And then when I told you, we would have conversations all the time about Wingate himself, about the history of Krav, about Feldenkrais, everything. And, you would send me to look at different books and different text or techniques. And it was eye-opening. And I get excited about the history. I get excited about learning new things. So, what started your, interest in the history of Krav Maga?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that the team that always goes with me, it's a very special team because they can respect and accept different opinions. Mm-hmm. Not everyone can work in such an environment that, David says right and Avi says left.
Right.
And it's okay by both of them because sometimes you do right, sometimes you do left. You will just need to think what is best for you. And I don't know many people who are quite open to say, I say left, but of course David is right, and you can always do the other way around. So, and as you know, David always says the opposite. So
yes,
yeah. And I think this approach is like to be like an eye-opening, because you used to do something and you say, okay, I always do this, but then someone comes and say, no, let's think about it differently and do it opposite. So one of the lectures that I gave One of the guys told me, Guy, the information that you're teaching here is not correct. So I told him, what do you mean? He says, go and check the books, check some history, and then you will see that what you're teaching here, like the history of Israeli martial arts or combat disciplines, it's not that accurate. And this is what was actually like the trigger for me, because I say, okay, I'm the head of Israeli martial arts disciplines in Israel, National Sports Institution. Like if we teach something, it has to be based on scientific or something which is valid, and not only about stories. Now, today, when you're looking at people's websites or books or whatever, everything it's hearsay. Like my instructor told me that, and I'm writing it in a book. But unfortunately, no one checked this information before I did it based on what information that I got. So this was the trigger.
And I just remember so many conversations with you. I like doing research, and you reminded me, you're like, going on the internet is not research. Go down rabbit holes is not research. But
Yeah.
you would find that. I found countless websites that said, this happened or that happened. And totally out of context of the years. They don't fit. And you were like,
Yeah.
check the years, check this. And you gave some really key points in looking up stuff for me. That was always checking the dates, see if they work.
Yeah, like, when I looked in the IDF archives, there were 2 dates there, like of Amy retirement. Like one was, I think, 1962, and the other one was 1964. So I had to look in the documentation, when was his actual retirement? Because I think lastly it was 1964, but he might be supposed to retire 2 years earlier, and they asked him to stay 2 years more. So you just check it and you say, okay, this guy retired at 1964. What time did he arrive to Israel? What happened before? Like we know that Feldenkrais was here in 1920 and left in 1930 or 31 because of the British. And in this time, Imi was in Czechoslovakia. He was not here. So you just look at the dates, as you say, and you say, okay, this person was not here in Israel. So how does everybody say that he developed or whatever? And then they say that Krav Maga was developed in the military, which is true. It was developed. But what is the origin? Okay, like even today, every head of Krav Maga discipline in the IDF, he develops. This is a job, because Danny says that there are new threats.
Yes.
So like a few years ago, they started to try to grab rifles from soldiers. This was never tried before. So Danny got this mission to solve it. So he was taking, was his leading officers, and he called some other guys who were before him, and they tried to look for solutions. So they developed it. Okay, everyone on this job, this is his job, like develop it.
And you?
No, I like that. The way I see it, having no military or law enforcement background, just being a teacher of Krav Maga at this point, is that it's such a great problem-solving tool. Even when I teach the kids, or if I have to go and teach, women survivors of domestic violence, I'm not teaching them the techniques. I'm teaching them how to problem solve, and I feel like Krav gives them the ability to do that because it's so principle based, and there's always a way to address the threat if you think about it. So every new threat develops a new technique per
approach.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. As times change. So no, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, you know that recently, like I'm writing another research. Hopefully, I will be able to publish it in a few months. So you have like a scientific background, which is verified today, and they were thinking about it in the 1930s and 1940s. So, like, you know, the principles things, it's quite, you know, based on scientific facts, but they didn't know these facts back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually quite amazing, like, you know, whenever we discuss principles, okay, but why? And now I don't want to spoil, you know, but now we know why. Why principles are not the defined movements. And it has like scientific backgrounds for it. So it's really interesting to see it.
You mentioned this a little bit, but what other like sources or references did you use for the lectures? For your
Okay, so yes, like if you're talking about the history, what we're trying to do is we call it triangulations. You have to find like 3 valid sources to verify the facts. So then like in Israel, it's not a problem because, you know, I read Hebrew. So yeah. So you just go to libraries or archives and you have all the information there. Like for me, it was amazing to discover the part that Rehovot, it's a town which I lived for about 30 years, had in the development of Israeli combat disciplines. So I just went to the library there to look for something else, and then I found out that actually some significant things happened there. So like when you read Hebrew, and we're talking about research concerning Israeli stuff, so it's quite not easy, but it's accessible.
I just loved when you gave one of the lectures at Wingate. You had the documents with the dates and everything on it.
Yep.
You're like, look, this is a government document. This was like it's here.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important, the history, for people training?
I think that there are actually 2 points. The first point is for no one to bullshit you. Sorry for my French, you know, but if you know the true history, so no one can tell you stories. But the other thing is more like, you know, for all of us, it's important to know who are our parents and our grandparents, and we do want to know a little bit. So like for me, I know that my grandparent, you know, father of my grandmother, he immigrated to Israel, and he had like 12 kids from 2 wives, which is very important. And you know, this is why I have so many cousins. Like in Israel, everywhere I go, I meet a cousin. So like it's very nice. I'm going to have a meeting this Tuesday with a guy, and I think he's like one of my relatives. And he doesn't know me, and I doesn't know him, but because of his last name, probably we are connected somehow. So again, I think it's very important to know where you came from and like your heritage, and to understand how things were constructed for the good and for the bad. Like, you know, as we discussed before, threats were different there. And today's threats are different. So why did they took this approach? Why didn't they another approach? So this is the reason.
And I think that, like, that's what I go to when I talk to people who don't care about history. They just want to learn how to fight. And you're like, well, there's going to come a technique or something you have to defend that you've never done. If you understand principles or how things were created, it helps you think through things in a logical manner, as opposed to making up crazy stuff that I've seen before too.
You know, Ernie, in the Israeli College of Sports, we teach principles. Okay, so when someone comes to study with us and he wants to be like a fitness instructor, of course we teach him some, routines like with dumbbells or with rubber or, the aerobic steps. But this is not what's important. The important is the principles.
Mm-hmm.
Because we cannot teach him all the techniques or all the exercises that you can do with the rubber band. But if you understand, and you will understand it because you're a physiotherapist,
Yeah.
if you teach him what not to do or what are the correct principles, so it's like giving someone a hook to fish and not the fish. So the same for the history. If you have the history background and you understand like the Israeli mentality and some of the language, okay, which is relevant, so you get the hook and you can fish by yourself.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important for instructors, as some of the instructors that I've had contact with, they get bored with the simplicity of Krav, so they think they have to add other styles in, and it's the simplicity is what makes it so effective, and it's not the system that's wrong. It's or the system that's limiting. It's the instructor's understanding of it that's limiting. So yes, cross train by all means, but also if you can understand where the Israeli combat system has come from, then you'll be able to teach that with different layers to address different demographics. And people in Israel have different threats than people in America. Females have different threats than males. Children versus police officers. There should never be an end to the amount of layers that you can use when you really understand the history behind it. So that's why I think this is beneficial for people.
Yeah, some people look at Krav Maga as a martial art, and this is okay. Like if you're going to train Krav Maga as a martial art and you say, okay, I want to train Krav Maga now for 20, 30 years, and I want to have to be graded, and I want to promote myself, and I want to do it, yes, also for self-defense, but mostly for my soul and my body and my personal development. So you can add lots of techniques because the aim of the person who is training is different.
Yeah.
But if someone is coming for self-defense or like for, let's call it pure Krav Maga, that you have like maybe 20 minutes to teach him how to be able to defend himself, or sometimes 5 minutes, or sometimes 3 sessions of 1 hour. So you have to put everything in this session. It's not like martial art. So there's a place for both, but we as instructors or or people who love it, just need to understand, okay, this person is training for martial arts. So yes, I can teach him 3 different ways of how to disarm a gun. Because of it's nice and it develops and it's coordination and everything. But if you're talking purely about combat, so one solution is better.
I want to talk a little bit about some of your papers and research that you've published. Now, did you just publish another paper?
It's now in the process of fixing my English. And hopefully I'll get it back in a few weeks. And then I'll be able to do another scientific validation on everything. And then we'll send it for publication. This one talks about like the motor control mechanism behind Krav Maga.
Oh.
So yeah, and so it's very interesting for me. And it's like, as I said before, putting the facts behind like the style or the system or the discipline. So it's quite complicated, but I really enjoyed working on it.
Nice.
But in the lectures we talked about it. We are talking about it, even though it's still not published. So all the information is there.
Excellent. And the history paper you had published, what was the title of that?
There were two papers. One talked about like the essence and singularity of Israeli Krav Maga, and the other one on the background and the connection to Israeli untangible cultural heritage. So what I claimed is that Krav Maga is actually Israeli untangible cultural heritage. And in this paper, like I tried to prove it, the paper was accepted, of course, and validated and everything. And now I'm writing another paper, like with a colleague from America, a professor from California. Hopefully it will be published soon. Again, from another aspects of like cultural diplomacy. Like the field is amazing. There are so many aspects of it. So it's really, for me, it's very intriguing.
I can't wait to read it. Hopefully I'll understand it too. So you have 4 lectures that we're going to be doing where people can be there live and ask questions, and then we can record and put out to everyone. Would you like to give a little brief about the lectures themselves?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I think that it's very important for people to understand Israelis. Like, I don't know how you look at us, you know. Joe has a very firm opinion on Israelis. Yeah, I like his opinion, yeah, and he's a good friend. But if you understand like our background and our history, so you'll be able to understand maybe our mentality. And our mentality is the base for Krav Maga. So like if I can say, if you are not Japanese, it will be very difficult for you to understand karate or aikido or judo. And you know, Ilan, our friend, he says that when he trains in Japan, some guys are doing the same, you know, uchimata or osotogari. They are doing it every day for 3 hours for 1 year or even more. And then they get to a level of perfection which no European can match. It's not the only way, but this is like their mentality. They can do it. So if you'll understand our mentality and our backgrounds, it will be easier for you to connect and to criticize what we're doing. But at least you will understand where it comes from. Okay, we talked about it a lot, so
makes sense.
Yeah, we talked, Ernie and me, we talked about the number 6 million. You remember?
Yes.
You never say 6 million in Israel. Okay, so we'll talk about it in the lectures. Why can't you say 6 million in Israel? Some movements you cannot do, because if you do them, eventually, immediately you'll like provocating. So, you know. So in the lectures, we're going like to go on the history. The first is like very old history to understand the backgrounds of the Israeli nation. Second is the development of Israeli combat disciplines. Then we're going to talk about what happened from 1948 till today, how actually the method continues to develop. Hopefully we will get some friends of mine as well, who will speak as well. So it will be quite interesting, you know, to hear them and hear their, you know, opinion and approach. So it will be very sorted. And last, we'll talk about the scientific principles or knowledge behind the elements of Krav Maga. And it's going to be light, okay? No, not too heavy. Still professional, very professional, but light.
I've always loved the history lectures, both by you and Mote. And the questions sometimes, or the statements that come out of people, and the very, no. That didn't happen. No. but it's not just I heard this or it was passed down to me. It's look, here are the facts. Here are the dates. Look at the dates again. Look. And it's interesting because even though I've heard this and I've talked with you at length, every time I read it or go through another evolution or more information that you found, it's like, wow, okay. And then, whatever I read, I call you up and say, what about this? What about that? And we have these conversations. I mean, it's constantly learning new things, but also about how it developed. It's amazing, the process. And that these open thinkers that did it, that these people that came together and just, I do this, you do that. Okay, let's see how it works. Okay. Yeah. I would learn something new. Is there any teasers or tidbits you want to share?
Yeah, I think that when you say Krav Maga, okay, did you see my Hebrew accent now? I didn't say Krav Maga. When you say Krav Maga, so, or you say Krav Maga Israeli Krav Maga, people don't really understand what they're saying. Okay? So first you have to understand the Israeli language and to understand what is Krav Maga or what is Krav Maga Israeli and why there are so many trademarks in Israel, in America, but there are no more trademarks in Israel. Okay? But if people are interested, they will need to listen to me. I don't know. I think...
I'm looking forward to it. We have a number of people very interested in hearing it. So
I can't wait.
Maybe I need the time to mention that, like the PowerPoints presentations. Actually, there are two types of PowerPoints presentation. One is the more simple, which is the one that I use when I teach, not to burden the people with too much information, in the presentation. But the other one is designed for club owners and instructors who will want to use it later. So they should approach you, and this is like a very detailed presentation, almost with everything I say, it's on the presentation, so they will be able later to go over it and use it, and so it's another way for people like to continue and give this information on. So
we have great success with not just our students who need to know history for certain levels of testing, but also the community, synagogues, everything, where we go in and do a little bit of the history and a little bit of the hands-on, and that we get called in for that quite a bit.
It adds a level of professionalism. We're not just going in and hitting pads. We're having a conversation about culture and history, and it brings a new view to the system.
Yeah, a new dimension. Yeah, because I think that intelligent people are interested in knowledge, and like when we're talking to Jose or Sergio, they are thinking the same as us. Like I came to Sergio and I tell him, what can I teach? And he says, you can teach whatever you want. I say, yeah, but I want to make sure that I don't contradict you. He says, no problem, I'm not afraid, you can contradict me. And the same with Jose. So it's very important to have people like this who are thinking, and are not afraid. Okay, so you say different, so what? It's okay. Like,
and that's it. You have to be. It's like losing in jiu-jitsu. Me quite a bit. I'm very.
Yeah, you have to lose.
But it's failing upwards. Like, it's okay to have someone correct you, because that's what makes you better.
Yeah,
At least.
I got now someone from Brazil, and he wanted, to consult with me and everything. And I went into his website and I saw some stuff which is not true. So I told him, look, I'll be happy to help you, but just know that your website is not correct. A few weeks later, he sends me the link again. He said, look, I fixed everything according to the new information that you gave me. So it's really nice to see that people like who are open-minded, they say, okay, I know this is the way I was taught, this is what my instructor told me, but now I got like a valid information, so I'm not afraid to change it. So it was very nice to work with this guy in Brazil. And they invited me now to give a lecture on Zoom to a university in Sao Paulo. So next Saturday, you can see me in Brazil, yeah.
And then Sunday, you can see you do your lecture. It's
when are we starting, Ernie? What is the starting date?
Anne's going to do that one. Pardon?
Do we have a starting date?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Are you ready for that part?
Yeah, but I think people should know, like, and I should know. Look, I'm writing it down, so I'm on the way.
Well, there is a Facebook link, and we'll put the link to the event in the comments section. So anyone who's interested can get more information. Everything's written out. The first lecture will be on November the 8th. So that's Sunday.
November the 8th?
November the 8th.
Okay. What time is
4 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Okay.
Okay.
I better start working.
As Ernie said, that there will be 4 lectures. The 4th lecture will just be for instructors. It's a separate package deal. So the 2nd lecture will be November 22nd. The 3rd lecture will be December 6th. And then the 4th lecture, which is for instructors only, and that would be the science behind Krav Maga. That will be December 20th.
Okay, and all in the same time, right?
Yes.
16 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this lecture series will include 3 to 4 lectures, which will be about 6 academic hours. There'll be slideshows and videos, as well as you live. There'll be a question and answer forum. And upon completion, you'll receive a certificate of participation from the Israeli College of Sport. So we're very excited to join you to discuss the origins, the influences, and everything that kind of has built up the Israeli combat system of Krav Maga. So, woo-hoo.
Okay, so now people just need to come and join us.
Yep.
That's it.
Alan Garcia is jumping in. Guys, don't miss this opportunity. I gotta tell you, it was one of my favorite lectures. Every year I've went to Israel and Wingate, seeing the changes and seeing it get more and more depth to it and understanding. Guy, we really look forward to the seminars, the lectures.
Me too.
We know a lot of people that can't wait, and they have their questions written down. Bring your questions, because there's going to be some time for question and answer.
Yeah, of course.
And go ahead.
And if I won't be able to answer on the spot, so because I will not answer something if I'm not sure about it. So sometimes I may say, okay, look, guys, I'm not sure. Give me like a few days and I'll try to find the right answer. Okay, so don't be mad at me if I tell you, look, guys, I'm not sure. I can speculate, but okay.
Well, I mean, that's all I have. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're
okay. We're good.
polishing everything up.
So if you want more, guys, you'll have to sign up. There'll be a link within the event. I can put the link below in the comments as well if you're just ready and raring and want to sign up. you get 6 academic hours of Guy Moore. So this has just been half an hour, and the amount of information that was discussed and brought was amazing. So just there'll be so much more. Make sure you tune in.
If you truly teach, make sure you try and see this because it will really expand your knowledge. Dr. Moore?
Yeah, that's it. So I'll see you all on November 8th.
November 8th.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Guy.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
See you next Sunday.
Bye.